Welcome to episode 67 of our board game podcast, a master's degree in rolling terribly. We are also masters at being terrible at Frosthaven, aka Mabtaff, which has now been copyrighted.
Okay.
Better do a quick Google search. And apparently there's a Pinterest page under Mabtaff. So I guess we have a fight on our hands, guys.
Hostile takeover, I reckon.
Hostile takeover. You don't meant to talk during the intro. You're doing it. I meant to introduce you. That's the intro. Anyway,
You're talking to me.
I'm talking to the audience.
Oh, sorry. Ignore me. Just edit me out.
No. My name is Detty, and I'll be hosting you for the evening. And joining me, a man who helped me understand the fundamentals of how the Astral class works. But then we decided to play it by the actual rules. And this does change it slightly. Gaz! Say hi, Gastral.
Oh, that's not a cool name.
Why?
It's like too much like gastro.
Oh, yeah, but it's different. It's like a gassy minstrel.
That's way worse. This is getting worse.
Okay, well, I don't know what your tastes are. Obviously, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, that's it. Hi guys. How are we going?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. I mean, I did read the FAQ, so it's kind of Dwarf's fault that we fixed it.
That is a good fail-safe. It's always good to blame FAQ people if they don't get something right. But
well, I mean, if we kept playing it how I thought we were playing it, and we never checked, we wouldn't be wrong, right? You can just cheat a little.
That is true. Well, it's not cheating a little. It's only cheating a little if we, keep going back and forth depending on which version of the Astral we want to play for any given scenario.
True. It's only cheating if you know that you're doing it wrong, right?
Yeah. Should we release at some stage the house rules of your version of the Astral just so people can try it out and see if it's actually better?
I was gonna say, I actually thought it was really cool, and I think I'm gonna have to just, pocket that away for my random ideas of games that I'm never gonna make, but I write enough ideas down, like my 1 to 2/3 of a game that's made, and I'll include that because I think it's a cool idea.
I think it's a very cool idea. Bit confusing, but
not confusing. You just gotta do it right.
That's true. The actual
It's
Astral
confusing when there's an FAQ saying that it doesn't work like that, right? It's not confusing if that's how you think it works.
We weren't actually. I was slightly confused during the video, slightly. But I kept throwing in, are you sure it doesn't work like that? So the Astral unboxing will be out hopefully soon. That's really up to me to getting it out of the way before this lands. So it should be out by then. And you know what? It's okay because we all make mistakes. And I mean, do you remember the Snow Imp Saga? Yeah, there was that. There was Logmania. That happened forever ago, and a billion others.
We were doomed from the start, right?
Yeah.
That was turn 2 of our Frosthaven campaign.
Yeah.
And we already had the impassable log that we couldn't get over, and it warped the entire scenario.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is just our jam, right? We've got to get something massively wrong.
Well, to make us feel better, I did a very quick search for common rules mistakes for Frosthaven. And it gave me a fun little list. So one group assumed on every monster turn they perform for the monster, move to attack 2 as a base action. Always happens. Every monster performs move 2, attack 2. And then the ability card that's been assigned to the monster is an additional modifier to that base.
Okay.
Because it'll have plus 0 and plus 1 and all that kind of stuff. So that's how they were kind of understanding it. I thought, like you, that they were doing base move and then actioning the ability, which that's pretty rough.
Well, I mean, move to attack 2 and doing that as the base and then using the card to modify is kind of like just using a standard base, right? Because all the monsters have a base movement and base attack on their card, right? And then you use the what it says on the card to modify it. So they've just kind of most of the monsters probably got easier.
I don't think they were doing base move and base. I think it was number 2 for everything. Everything was move 2, which means ancient artillery who don't move are starting to roll around the arena.
Oh man, I can just imagine that Reddit post. Man, these H&R artillery are so broken. They move up to you, and then they do an AoE attack that pushes you back further, right? They have us all bundled in this corner. They just keep pushing us. People are like, I'm not sure at what stage.
Uh, yeah, well, the answer for
Sorry.
that is 13 scenarios, and then they realized. So
Okay.
that's pretty
All right,
cool.
that's fair.
Someone else had wounds or blocking healing, which I'm sure is easy to do because poison blocks healing. So wounds also blocked healing. The initiative card, your actual initiative is the first card that has to be played. So a few people are playing like that. Accidentally controlling actions of summons, not using the actual monster AI. So these aren't house rules. These are just literally people just making mistakes,
that's
right?
fair.
And to make you feel better. Ranged monsters getting disadvantage of its attack due to melee range will actually attack a different target. That's how some people have been interpreting it. Like, why would it hit with a disadvantage when I can shoot that guy over there?
Makes sense.
It does make sense. Boss immunities, instead of them being immunities, they're actually innate conditions that they apply on you. It's a bit rough, especially when they're immune to stun and disarm and everything.
Yeah, okay. That's, all right.
Permanent potions, meaning you drink it, you brew a new one.
Oh, as in one use ever?
Yeah, yep.
Whoa, okay. I thought we were playing on hard mode.
And then, of course, using elements in the same turn.
Yep. Okay, cool.
So,
I mean, those are easy to make if you, like, kind of were to guess at how something works. Like, there's a lot of rules, and you play through. If you go, oh, how does this work? I'm sure this is how it works, right?
Yeah, you just guess a little.
Yeah, that's it. Just guess a little. So,
what is very amusing about that list that I made when I was going through like the internet looking for it is the amount of people who responded to each individual thing going, oh, you mean that's not a thing? There was so much of that.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, as much as we joke about those people making mistakes, and honestly, no shade, because like
No.
we're talking about this because of the mass amount of mistakes we have made, right? But there are, as you said, people on there going like, "Oh wow, that's not how that works." Ooh, awkward. But then there's probably people on there going like, "Yep, tick, 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 tick." Like, we also did all of that. We're not anymore because we saw that we found the rules, but we did at one stage.
That's right. And there are probably people there who are going through the list and not saying anything and just going, "Oh, I better tell the group." Right? There's probably more of them because.
I mean, they're not making a podcast, so it usually doesn't get out.
No. But a lot of people on Reddit also don't comment. A lot of people browse and read. Like, I mostly do.
Scroll through. Oh, I better upvote that one because that's what we've been doing wrong. I was just gonna say when you mentioned the name of the podcast, it's funny because my daughter asked me this morning. This evening before I'm about to record. It's like, who named the podcast? And I was just like, oh, like Detty kind of came up with it, and then we talked about it when we were throwing names out there. We both liked it. I was like, how come? She's like, oh, I was just wondering. But she said it in a way like it was like she didn't approve.
Oh,
Like,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Like she threw shade like only kids can throw shade when they're not doing it on purpose, but it cuts you really deep.
It's the word dirt, isn't it?
It probably is. It probably is. It's probably not the word am.
No, but I mean, amDirt doesn't even make sense. It's just poor English, right?
It is. And I mean, using the word dirt, we had to fight the soil industry for ages, but we finally convinced Google that we are not soil.
No, it was oil. I think amsoil.
Amsoil, yeah, that's right.
I think they're an oil company. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But,
we were. It was either podcast or oil barons. We were kind of weighing it up, and we didn't strike it rich on the property, so we had to go with the podcast.
Yeah, we chose poorly. So quickly, my Misi review has gone up. I spent a lot of time on this and a lot of love, especially my media toy commercial. So if you are an audio listener and you haven't actually been able to go over and have a look, check it out. I'm really proud of it. It's youtube.com/amDirt. And have a look.
I hear it's currently going viral.
Yeah, I think it's up to 400 and something. It's pretty viral
like,
for us.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's growing.
Yeah.
And Mark, if you are listening to this, I've just remembered that your fist guide that you've sent to me, you need to send me a thumbnail. So I know you'll listen to this before the next session, so make sure that you do that. Everyone, Mark's guide to everything you need to know about fisting is coming soon. And we're very much looking forward to that premiere.
Yeah. And this is the most effective way for us to communicate with Mark, right? Like we couldn't, he'll hear this and before we'll speak to him. So are there any other friends that you would like to send a message to, Detty, that it's easier than just sending him a Discord message?
No. On today's episode, we will be covering scenario 99, Prison Break. Have you seen that show?
No.
Is that the name of the show?
I saw that. Yeah, that's the name of the show. Yeah, I think I saw the ad and went like, oh yeah, cool. And then next thing I know, they're up to like season 5. I'm like, man, I'm glad. That would have been real frustrating to watch if they're still in prison after 5 seasons. Like they would just been like, so annoying.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I haven't seen it either, so I know very little about it. I was just about to hum the theme song, but I don't know it, so it would have just
that's fair. You could
anything.
have hummed it. I would have been like, oh yeah, that sounds about right. Unless it was Superman or Indiana Jones, which sounds the same.
They do, don't they? Yeah. We're also going to be having a discussion around 2 of our classes and how's it going? How's everything going? I feel like
spoilers.
I feel like listeners don't always get a feel for like how we're playing a certain character because it's very hard to convey a lot of that over this. So this will be a little bit of a chance to kind of go into a little bit more detail about your character and my character, obviously. The Prism and the what am I again? Astral.
The mistake.
Yeah, the mistake. And a lot of those details, because we're not playing like a session that's there that people can actually watch. Yeah, a lot of that kind of goes missing. So, we can have a little class catch up and see how we're going with our respective classes.
Yeah, it's good. And it'll provide a good chance for an area that, as you said, because we don't play live, so people can't critique our play. So when we tell them about how we're playing, they can start critiquing our play, right? It just gives extra avenues to get feedback on what we're doing wrong.
Great idea, guys. Look forward to that.
Yeah.
I'll be AFK for a few days. So we had a road event on the way to scenario 99. This was winter road event 45. Is that right? Yeah, it is. Do you remember this at all?
I remember it removed another event out of the deck.
Yes, it 100% did.
I remember that it had something to do with things.
Yeah, okay, good. So this was actually incredibly random because last week, as you would know, we built the library.
I remember now. Yeah.
And we upgraded the library, and that's where I came from. That's how I was made. But they told us to put in a Winter Road event card and a summer one, I believe, into their respective decks and get shuffled in. I've somehow shuffled this straight to the top because it's just happened. And then we got the road event, but it didn't register until we kind of got to the choice, which was around a book, right?
Yeah.
And what to do with the book. It's like magic and stuff. And then it kind of pieced it together. Once we resolved it, it told us to remove the other one. And I was just like, hang on a second, this sounds familiar. It turns out it was that. So we got this particular event, which actually gave us, it was actually a very interesting choice. Very hard to base off a decision.
It was. And just before we go into it and talk about the choice and the fact that we forgot, was that we had a little discussion afterwards. I think I was just talking to Phil about the events and how like they are just so random. Like you do this task or you do, kind of a line of things and then, you get this event to go in there and it's random whether it comes back or not. And we're kind of just talking about how that's that's cool, but it's kind of also potentially shit because you might not see the outcome. The other problem with it is that we literally put this in at the end of the last session. We built the library. The lady was like, hey, here, I've got this quest for you. Go do this quest. And then it's like, put this card in there. We're like, oh, okay, cool. So we're going to do this quest. Cool. 1 week later, when we pulled this quest or this line, this event, we were like, I don't know what this is.
No.
Like we had no idea. Like absolutely no recognition that this was the quest we literally just got. She gave us a quest and we walked out of town and the quest giver and the event was right in front of us. And we're like, what's this? And you could probably see her in the library going, that's the quest I just gave you. Like, who are you? So it kind of just was interesting because we listened to it like, well, this is fascinating. What's going on here? This is really cool. I wonder
No one
what's
listened
going
to
to
her.
happen. And then no, but I mean, when we listened to the event, the
Yeah,
event
okay.
thing was playing out. Like, this sounds amazing. This sounds really cool. What are we going to do? And we read it a few times, and you're like, wait, hang on, is this the library thing? We're like, ah, it is the library thing. Like, so yeah, that, I don't know. That probably says more about our memories and how
Oh,
much we're
it
paying attention
100% does.
than the system. But I mean,
Yeah. I mean, Fortilla does a great job of reading it out. I know because I was so focused on getting the Astral that I didn't pay attention to anything that was library centric. Every now and then you'd be like, hey, Detty, we need this. Or we got a section bit. Can you read that? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry. And, it was that kind of thing. And even when you were having that conversation, I remember hearing slight amounts of it with you and Phil, but I was too busy spending a good 20 minutes working out which astral cards to bring with me on this particular scenario. I was so like deep in thought about what I was doing. I still got it really wrong, but yeah, it was part of it. But yeah, this led to a really cool decision where, yeah, we found I think a corpse or something with a book on it. And then, we can decide. Well, it was a skeleton who talked to us, actually, right? It
yep.
was like a living
Yeah.
bones kind of croaky
Not
thing.
not a corpse, but yeah, also
Close.
important to say he was talking to us.
He was.
He gave us a
And
choice.
yeah, do we use the book on him or do we take it, seal it up and let him rest?
And this is where, like,
Well,
this
you
is where
asked.
these. Pardon?
You asked, actually, do we leave with the book or do we
With
not?
the
I'm like,
book.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I
And this is where these decisions become really weird because that's what it was. It's like option one, A or whatever. Use the book on him before you take it to make sure that it works. Or B, seal up the tomb and leave. Now, I know it doesn't explicitly say take the book and then seal the tomb up, but why can't we do that one? Why can't we take the book and not test it on this dude? And I think in the end, we went with take the book. I mean, sorry, test the book on him because it was the only one that guaranteed that actually said we're going to take the book. Because I would have got real annoyed if we're being like, okay, do you want to test it on him or not test it on him? I was like, well, let's not waste it in case it's a one-use thing and you get penalized for that. Let's just take the book. And then you read it and it's like, you decide to leave the book where it is and seal the tomb up. Like, whoa, that wasn't what we decided.
No.
So it was kind of like, I feel like this is saying, do you want to take the book or not? So let's go with the one that mentions that.
Yeah.
But that's what it was a bit weird.
I am curious how many other people have a situation where they may overthink just a couple of little things. Because I think that's what that was, really. You're 100% right that it doesn't say that we don't take it with us. But I didn't even think about that. I think I auto decided that we were going to anyway. Like, I don't know why.
Well, you probably heard it as like, take the book, do a bit of testing on the way, or don't take the book, right? And I was just like, oh, it said test it and take the book or leave. I'm like, oh, well, why don't we just leave with the book?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, do you want to buy the packet of chips and eat it in the store, or do you want to just leave the store? I was like, well, can't I buy the packet of chips and leave with them and eat them at home?
Yeah.
Like, no, you purchase them, you eat them now. Like, so yeah, okay, all right.
The outcome that we chose had a keyword on there, and the only difference between that and not having the keyword was also experience, which was really cool. So we had it, which was great, and we took book back, and it made us put an event for a week later, which was obviously going to be when we go back to Frosthaven, which makes sense from a story tying up kind of thing to this book quest that we didn't even remember we had, even though we accepted it last week.
Yeah, because we probably got to pack to Frosthaven and we walked in and she's like, you've got the book. And we're like, what book? What are you talking about? Like,
No, this is our
oh,
book.
yeah, we've always had this book. Like, what are you coming and trying to say? And she's like, no, I gave
Who are
you
you?
the question. I'm like, who even are you? Where did you come from? She's like, the library. Oh my God. She's looking at the Astral going like, you literally came out of the pages that we opened. And you're like, I don't remember any of this. Are you sure?
No.
Yeah.
Good thing we're not in charge of any like crazy memory-based content. Because that would be rough.
Yeah.
So, scenario 99. Now, I had to go back because this is something that I've been wanting to do with some of these job postings. Scenario 99 is a job posting, but I don't know why we're doing them half the time. And it's not like I can just go back into a book and it says, hey, pre-Scenario 99, what made you come here? It just jumps straight into the introduction of you walk this way and you see this and all that kind of crap. So I had to go to the campaign sheet and then look at all of those, challenge sections and flip through to the challenge book, the scenario book, section book, to then go, what does you want? Does this unlock? No, not that one. Does it unlock this one? No, not that one. Until I found one that said, you have found Prison Break. And then I was like, I'll read it and get a bit of a backstory as to why we're here. So that, unless when we unlock a job posting, a lot of the times it's the end of the scenario. We've already talked about this. End of the scenario, everyone's distracted. Some people are leveling up, choosing cards. Others are crafting. And we got Fortella playing in the background. A lot of us aren't really paying too much attention. And even if we did, there's a high chance that we won't remember it anyway.
We just proved that we don't remember the core things that we were sent on 1 week later.
Yeah. There almost needs to be just a section number at the top of the scenario somewhere to say, if you want a recap of why you're here, this is the section. That's my only critique with it. Because, it's a bit of a chase around just to work out what the hell happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good piece of feedback that Dwarf put that in your FAQ.
Love it. So, anyway, speaking of why are we there, so we were chilling at home. I don't know if you remember any of this, by the way. So we were chilling at home and we're having an ale, like a nightcap, all together for some reason. And then the door opened. And it's the world's slowest orchid that starts walking towards us. And the writing actually goes out of its way to just mention how long everything this orchid's doing is taking. Because by the time she makes it over to us, we've now no longer drinking and we're wrapping up our conversations and we're saying goodnight to each other and sweet dreams and everything. And it's at that moment she decides to plop her ass down on a chair, which is really annoying. It's like the latecomer at a party. So you're done, you want to go to bed, and then someone's rocked up. Sorry, I'm late. Anyway, sorry, do you have a drink? Well, how you been? It's just like, mate.
Yeah, it's done.
Can you please go?
Yeah.
So she's super excited for us to find us, and because we have a reputation or something in town. And while she's trying to explain something, she's doing it insanely slowly, like slower than the snowflake. That she pauses for dramatic effect, and the timing is way off. Like the writing literally says this: the timing is off. And then whilst she's doing this dramatic pause, we start looking at each other, questioning whether or not she died mid-sentence. So she doesn't actually, and this is what blows my mind, she doesn't actually tell us what she needs us to do. She just sort of smiles oddly, throws a sack of gold down on the table and says, can you help me out? And we're like, yes, we like gold. No problems. And then, so we agree, and then she says, wonderful, I look forward to our adventure. Unlock 99 Prison Break.
Okay. Wow. That's really random.
Yeah. And then the intro to Prison Break, which I haven't reread, but I'm pretty sure it said something along the lines of, she guides you to an entrance that says, there's the prison, go in there. And you go in there thinking it's abandoned. And then lo and behold, it's not. And alarms go off. And then,
Imagine that. Imagine if we went in there and it was abandoned and we just went and got the thing. It was like end of quest. Like it's an end of scenario. What a twist.
That would be an interesting twist. I don't know how happy you would be.
I mean, I suppose it just means you have to do double admin, right? You have to do an extra road event and you have to do an extra outpost event and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, Scenario 99 is Prison Break was designed by Alexander Theo Harris. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So, Alexander's part of Team Satire, who's part of the group that, with Cephalo Fair Games, who are working around events and story and mechanics and things like that. So they actually started, this is when I was just doing some research on it, they actually started off separate, doing their own thing. And they, Alexander and his team created the extended battle goal system. So for Gloomhaven, where they actually created a brand new deck of 54 battle goals, down from 200. They actually came up with 200 concepts, squeezed it down because people were a bit bored of the battle goal system. And then they actually put it into, I believe, a chart that you can actually access online, roll dice to select your battle goal or
cool.
A couple of different ones. And I think some of those have actually, just from a quick glance, have made their way into Frosthaven, which is really cool.
Yeah.
They also made a character, an expansion character for Frosthaven, which I've never heard of. It's the Curseborn character, and it's got an interesting card flip mechanic. So you can picture a standard Gloomhaven, Frosthaven card, with your top ability, bottom ability. But the top, similar to a blink blade, is split in half. So each top and each bottom has two sections of abilities, and one of them is in an ethereal form, and one is in its human form. So it swaps between the two. But also, one half of them, the text is upside down. So the card is rotated when it's similar to a transfer spell or like a Geminate flippy thing. You turn the card around, and every initiative, it's written like the digital clock thing. So it actually goes upside down.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
Very, very, very cool, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just a little backstory of from Alexander. And we'll see how much we like his prison break. Looking forward to seeing what Gaz says, right? Scenario goal. The scenario is complete when all enemies in it are dead. And
Hey, that's easy. We love those ones.
and the gold treasure tile has been looted.
Oh, you didn't say that.
Well, I was trying to.
Yeah. You got me really excited, and then it's like now I'm medium excited.
Now you have to loot something, guys. Not necessarily you. At the end of that round, we read a thing. There is no scenario effect, which is crap for people who went out of their way to select a perk for that.
All right. So we need to start a counter. We're at 1. Okay. Scenarios since you took the no scenario perk on your Astral. And I want to count how long until we get to 1 that you actually get to avoid.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Yeah, we're at 1.
I want to track this because we talked about it on the media, and there was umming and ahhing about whether it was worth getting.
Because it kept happening, and I refused to pick it.
Yeah, I agree. And people were like, "It's always worth getting," and we were like, "No, it's not worth getting," and blah blah blah. And you didn't get it right in the end.
No.
On your media,
No.
yeah. So now that you've got it from the very start, maximum value. I want to see how good it is based on the 15, 20 scenarios we do with the Astral.
So far, 0 from 1.
Yep.
Special rules. Door 1. There's a door.
1 door.
Called 1. It's called 1. And it's locked.
It's a 1, right? It's not like O-N-E. It's just like 1.
Yes. All figures on any one tile, right? Because the number of the tile reference, basically. So any of the ones, they're all treated... Sorry, all figures on any one treat all figures on 13C, which is the main one, as in range, in line of sight for any ranged attacks, right? All monsters on these tiles do not move off them unless forced. So what this essentially means is that they're almost like you've got a base floor, which is where we start, and then you've got attached to it levels on each side, which is the 1 tiles, and then another one. And they're separated by stairs, which is difficult terrain, and also traps and stuff like that. And then you've got a mixture of mobs all over the place. So that's kind of what it's saying, is that anything that is not on that ground floor, that is on an elevated floor, if it's ranged attack, it can hit anyone down there. It doesn't need range, doesn't need LOS, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it was kind of cool, and without going too far into it, because I know we'll talk about it later, but the setup of realizing that we kind of just needed to scale up these platforms while we were going to get shot from the top. And that's kind of visually, that's what it was. Like one really big room that you couldn't escape. Everything on these 2 tiles counts as within range of you, right? So there's no hiding.
No.
And then you're going to have to like slog your way up while again, everyone's getting peppered. So yeah, it was cool. Like I thought those basic rules, once we got across it, were really cool.
And just, that's the layout, but hopefully there's no monsters up there that can take full advantage of this.
No, they would have all put ranged. They would have put like earth demons and something else.
Imagine if it was artillery and Algox archers.
Imagine if it was 1 Algox archer on each side, and I think that scenario would actually be impossible.
So this mechanic is not the first time we've kind of seen it. It was in scenario 15, the Ancient Spire, where we had the endless amount of robots that were spawning at the bottom, also with bolt shooters. And Phil had to scale up a ladder and climb all the way to the end to kill some boss. Luckily, he was on a blink blade, and that was the birth of the Phil timer.
That's right. Yeah. I guess the difference in that one was that all of the monsters were down there with us, right? The only thing that was up there was the boss. And so it was a case of just getting someone to go up the ladder and across to the boss. Whereas this was actually, there were things taking full advantage of of the high ground.
Yes.
Obi-Wan would have like just
been happy or sad?
I don't know.
Challenge cards. So we are down to 3 challenge cards. So we can choose from all 3. And the one we did pick was called Offensive Spread. And this was all figures. Add -1 to their attack and +1 target to all their single target attack abilities. And it just seemed like the best one if we were going to complete one on any given scenario. And that word figures probably we didn't think about too much, and how it was going to affect certain things. But yeah, out of the others, I mean, the other ones we have pack hunting, which is the wolf one. So by round 3, I think we spawned 4 normal wolves, which on a scenario like this may be rough. It's hard to say.
I mean, and just on that, wolves are the monster of the week on the Reddit.
Hounds.
They're the same thing.
Yeah.
There's a discussion on the fact that they're the same thing.
The other one that we have not chosen yet, if you are wondering, is empathy. And I don't know when we are going to be able to do this one, but empathy is when a monster suffers damage. All other monsters gain advantage on all their attacks for the round. Which...
like... Our thought process, just to take you a little bit into as we've been going through this deck, is as we've drawn them, we've looked usually and gone like, okay, from the 3 of them, is any of these like just going to make this impossible, right? Like there's just some really gross ones. And they're mostly the ones we've got left now and we've been working through the last few weeks. This one consistently, it doesn't matter when we've drawn it on every single scenario has always been straight in the bin. Like every single scenario has been like, we can't do that one. That one is just not happening now. And I think we've been trying to line up a boss. I think that's what we've been talking about is like we can do this on a boss scenario because hopefully there'll be less mobs.
Yeah, but even then I'm trying to backtrack and think, looking back, if we could time everything perfectly and pick this one at the right scenario, I'm going through a million scenarios in my head and going, nope, not that one, not that one, not that one. Yep. There's like one that we did with the beam in the middle and the boss that spawned the sparks. Yeah. And I'm just kind of like, maybe that one, because it's only one dude with the occasional spark that comes in.
Yeah, the other one that would work would be in that crab one we did that Phil killed in 3 rounds with the blink blade.
That's true, but
we don't have to deal with it. Yeah, that's a problem. Because can you imagine it on the ooze? Like
no, that's fine. It's so like so. Yes, so we're still wondering whether or not this is one we will complete. But for now, we've got offensive spread.
Yeah.
Our pets are Weedy the Ruin Machine, which is all characters immediately perform shield 1, and Stu the Forest Imp, I think for 2 weeks in a row, heal 3 in initiative order. What a combo. Yeah. Great combo. Monster combinations, we have Frozen Corpses, who we have not seen in a while, and every time we see them, I'm like, wow, we have not seen them in a while. We have Robotic Bolt Shooters. That is the ranged mob we did not want. And Steel Automatons.
Yep.
Our party consists on Detty, the level 4 Astral, Gaz on the level 7 Prism, Mark on the level 4 Kelp, and Phil on the level 5 Drifter. First room setup, we have the 4 rafter tiles, 2 on each side of the center large tile. Connecting all the tiles are ladders, which are difficult terrain, with traps blocking them off. On each of the farthest tiles, we have a mixture of bolt shooters and frozen corpses protecting a single pressure plate. And right in front of our spawn are 3 frozen corpses with a door behind it, which is door 1, and a sneaky bolt shooter in the corner. Section links, the first time 2 characters simultaneously occupy both pressure plates, read a thing. Initial thoughts, Gaz.
This seemed really cool. So I guess initial thoughts were we had 4 ice Yeti things down there and a bolt shooter, and me and Mark were kind of like, oh, we're just going to book it one way each way, and then you guys are going to fight in the middle. But that seemed really cool. Like we all had a job. It looked like we were going to hopefully be able to get up there really quickly, and I was looking forward to seeing how this kind of rain of death from above from these bolt shooters was kind of how it was going to work. And yeah, I don't know. From the setup, it seemed cool. Like I love what they did with the elevation and how clean they made it.
Yeah.
Like we had the elevation with the elevator one, and
yes,
apart from us like messing up the timing of that because it was a really weird way of kind of keeping track of that, that still felt kind of clunky. about the levels and how they would go in and out. And I know that was because it was moving, it wasn't like just stationary. But this just seemed really cool. Like I could picture us down the bottom trying to get up to the top. And I think, when you can get that real quick immersion in what you're doing, which doesn't happen heaps in this game. Like you don't really go, oh yeah, I feel like I'm in this type of scenario. I really did go, yeah, cool. This feels like we're looking up at these kind of platforms up above. We've got to get
Mm.
up there. So yeah, that seems cool.
Yeah, I think we had a chat at the start when it was like the bolt shooters, because they go from to OMFG like real fast, and we in our first tier list we bin them because I think our one and only or very few experiences with them was a lot of the cards, even at higher difficulty like levels like 3 or whatever from base, is attack ones. Like attack one's target 3, attack one's target 4. And then every now and then they're like, oh, hang on, we're going to do an attack 3 or an attack 4, targeting 4. And that's what's messed up in this scenario. If they're going to pepper down at us with their attack 1s, it's not that bad, right? It's really nothing. And then they switch up suddenly, and all of a sudden it's 3s and 4s targeting multiple. And that's the part where I got a bit nervous. I was like, down here, we like you said, you took the words out of my mouth. You go one way, Mark goes the other. Phil and I stay down the bottom, which in hindsight, I'm starting to wonder if that was the right decision.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting with them, and I think where our initial experiences they went in the bin is because we hadn't done a lot of the unfettered chain when we did the first tier list. We'd done the start, and the couple of times we'd encountered them, they were like at the end of corridors. So really, it was only 1 or 2 people that were getting into range because they don't move very much. They move like 1. I think they might have a 3 or something like that, but. And they've got good range, but again, when it's the corridor or rooms, it's always going to be very split. So we were like 1 or 2 people getting hit for 1. It doesn't matter. The thing that was messed up about them in this one is because range is no longer an issue. So the 2 cards I think they've got that are super dangerous is the one ballista or whatever it is it's called, which they do like attack 3 or attack 4 on multiple targets, which is like that's huge. That's like almost Algok's Archer levels of damage. And the other one that's really dangerous is attack all targets with the same hit, which usually is only 1. I think it's an attack 1. But again, if somebody doesn't have a shield, right, that's a lot of damage, right? And when there was 5, I think, total across the 2
total,
platforms. Yeah. Like that means that because for those that haven't done the scenario, because of the way it's positioned and the rules around the platforms being adjacent or all in range, there's no like there's only 1 target, right? Because everyone is the same range. So you couldn't even like if you went first, I don't think this happened to you. You went early, right? And so there was no, oh well, that one will hit this person or this person because you're further away. It's like no, there's no range. They're all within range.
Yep.
So, and that's how we read it anyway. And so that meant, like, again, it was really dangerous when they're pulling the someone gets hit by everything, and you're like, oh, wait, that's 1 person. They're gonna get hit with like what 16 attacks or something like that.
This scenario, not like this scenario, just from the way it was set up, just kept getting scarier and scarier the more we were playing it in a way with its potential ultimately. And then don't get me started on all the challenge cards that could have been involved in this, right? With the push ones and all that kind of stuff. It just, there are so many messed up situations in this. I think there's like, remember the one that's like +1 target added or something and +1 range or +1 damage to ranged attacks and dumb stuff like that.
Well, wasn't it? It was 2 weeks ago that we did the one where they get push 1. Every range gets push 1. Yeah, I mean that would have we never would have climbed up the ladders. We would have all just been stuck in a ball in the middle of the room.
Well, especially with the attack 1 person with all the hits. That person's just flying, yeah.
Like sniper in Dota, right? Just like machine gun them across the room.
That's right. So with our recap, we're going to break this down into just a couple of different parts because it was quite sandboxy. So it was kind of deciding, people were just calling where they wanted to go. So we had Gaz up one side, we had Phil up we had Mark up the other. Because Mark is playing Kelp, and Kelp actually have a lot of the movements teleport, which allows him to skip the hazardous terrain, the difficult terrain ladder thing, and actually go through the walls as well. So it was perfect for him to just appear up there and start dealing with that. I'll cover a bit of what happened to me, because I'll be honest with you, I was so engrossed in what I was doing, I couldn't really concentrate on what other people were doing, as I was too busy trying to plan my turns and learn how to play this class. But jump in if you remember anything. So I'm staying on the floor with Phil, and we've got the 3 frozen corpses, and we've got the bolt shooter in the corner. So while everyone's running off to the other sides. So the very first thing I want to do, okay, on this brand new character is I'm understanding I need infusions out. We're all based around our infusions, and they're the permanent things, the persistence that stay out. But pretty much they all require 2 elements, and you don't start off with any. So this is where, if you want to do it on turn 1, which I did, to try and definitely get one out, we use a perk, and I used a pot. I think it was infusion pot. Because I spent forever going through each card that we had access to and working out what to use. And this allowed me to get an infusion out. This was one of the biggest mistakes, not biggest, but this is mistake number 1 ultimately, was I chose the one that was, I believe, the level 4 one, the coalescing one, which is when you get hit, you put curse in the thing. What I didn't read was it was adjacent. So when you get hit from someone adjacent, because in my head, if I'm getting rained of fire from the bolt shooters, especially with little hits, I'm going to fill that deck up. So it wasn't until I played it. Well, it was even after I played it and the first thing came over to hit me, and then I went to check, yes, I definitely cursed this. It was one adjacent. When something adjacent to you hits you. So that was a mistake. I should never open with that, but it's because I misread the card, which obviously, if it was everything in any range, probably a little bit busted.
Yeah.
So in the first turn, instead of shielding myself, the other thing I do, I've got a new card that allows me to move 1, and in my head, basically say, hey, all of you guys, instead of attacking my mate, attack me. That's not how that works. So lesson number 2 in the same round was that it's only helping me from 1 attack to a mate who is adjacent to me, and that's it. Now, here's the thing. This challenge card means that single target attacks that are like what frozen corpses do mean they're going to attack a mate. So between that and whatever the bolt shooters pulled at the very beginning, I got absolutely wrecked in that first round because I also played a 12 initiative. I was going first. So I was 100% copying pretty much nearly everything. So that was my round 1. It was really rough, but I learned so much from that round 1. Like, so much. I understood how the cards worked. It's funny that I learn how the card works when it's in front of me, not the 3 hours in my hand prior to that, right?
Yeah,
where I have unlimited.
That's how humans learn. They learn from experience.
Reactive learning. I've then learned in round 2 that going first isn't always best. Just because I have low initiative cards, which is good if you're playing a tanky kind of thing. Oh, sorry, I don't think I mentioned that. I'm playing a tanky style Astral. The reasoning is because we've got a Kelp and we have a Drifter currently that may or may not change at some stage to something that hits even harder. I was like, look, I think I want to play a little bit more around the utility and tanking and retaliating and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going early because I'm like, hey guys, that's okay. With my 12 health pool, I think it might be, at level 4, I will take more hits. This was when we realized that I was going to get the focus on Detty 4 times or 3 times thing, and I had to blow Weedy. So this was like the greatest Weedy turn in blowing Weedy existence, because that shield just pretty much saves me from getting absolutely booked for the second round in a row, and I would have 100% discarded during this, which, would have been really, really rough. So the rest of it was Phil takes the hit off me. We're running around these frozen corpses. I'm trying to recover my health whilst dealing with pretty much nearly every round a rain of fire, which is coming down, and just trying to stay up with that. I do summon my walking sword because it doesn't float or anything like that. It is a walking sword. It goes through traps just like any regular person with legs do, which disarms me. And this is a card I'm very excited about. It's a sword that runs around and just hits stuff and gets all of your passives from your infusions. And then Phil asks me, what are you doing this turn? And I said, nothing. I'm too busy dying. I need to get my health back. And he's like, okay, cool. He'll clean up the frozen corpses. And because I played another early initiative card, that and the challenge card, which adds target, my sword proceeded to destroy both of the remaining frozen corpses, which pissed Phil off a little bit. And I was like, mate, I didn't do anything. I didn't even order them to do that. The sword just went for it.
I think you hit one and it was wounded. So and you put it down to like one and it was had a
Ah.
wound or something like that. And then we were like, oh, it's all figures, right? So that would attack the other one. And you're like, yeah. And then you drew really well and it died as well. And then so it died and then the other one died. And it feels like, I thought you said you weren't doing anything. It's like, what? I kind of did it, right? Like, I don't know.
I
It was
didn't.
that guy over there. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So because of that, Phil has to use his turn running over to the only other bolt shooter who we have left alone, and he was just peppering us. This is the one on the ground floor. My sword walks over as well with a brand new brittle on its already 2 health and 1 shield kind of thing. That sword's just, the next rain of fire is just going to book it, and it does. I get a second infusion up, which is the one that increases my max health. So that's a cool one because it increases the health of the sword as well. Something tells me that would have been better as my first infusion. So, learning. Phil finishes off the bolt shooter with a new card he's not used before. It's called Crushing Weight. Crushing Weight.
Yeah.
So he
New
attached
build.
that one. Yeah, new build. So he tried that. Very effective.
Turns out it's good.
It's not bad. And then, I slowly recoup myself. I ward myself and I start looting things around me. It's just too much effort to go up the ladders and help the other guys. And this is the part where the words come up and says, meanwhile, while all of this was happening, what was happening with you?
So I can kind of move really fast because I can teleport into my robots. So I basically like ran for one of I summoned something at range. I've got an attack that does like attack. It's a range 3 attack, and when it hits, I can summon something as if that hex was where I was. So it kind of lets me summon things at range, which is cool.
I love that.
I kind of did that, and then I did another one that lets me move, but then I get to move one of my summons 4. So I did that and moved it further. And then at the start of my next turn, I have the horn that lets me control movement. So I made it move again. So I was kind of like very quickly able to move this thing very quickly over the traps because I had the legs one out, which lets me. So I think it was turn 2, the end of turn 2. I managed to, or my turn 2 anyway, I managed to actually get up next to the robots.
Yeah, you got up really fast. And I think I haven't seen you move that quickly before.
Yeah, when I need to, and I've got the cards, I can actually shift that way quite well. And because once they're close enough to those monsters, then they'll start going that way.
And when there's no effect that says -1 to each of your move abilities as well, that
Correct.
makes
Yeah,
it
that'll say.
faster.
Yeah, it makes it a bit slower. So, and then I have another one that I've just got. The top is like a resummon if everything's dead type thing, but the bottom is a move and then a teleport. So it's a move 3 and then teleport one of your robots 8, which like you were saying with Mark, how he teleports a lot. The way this was laid out is even though they're up, they're just next to the main board, so you can teleport just straight through. So I was able to basically go in there, get myself in there, and then teleport something back in there. So it's kind of turn 2. I was in there with me and another robot, which was good. Problem is that next turn, which was good because I absorbed a bunch of the hits. I think I got up there on one of the hit all ones, and so I chucked a shield on my robot and basically just made it immune, it worked really well. So I managed to soak like I think 2 of the bolt shooters off you.
But even the spread ones, because of all your pets, you can decide after the initial target, where it kind of is always going. It took so much pressure off everyone, really.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Not so much you.
Well,
you were.
it was fine until they drew this one card that says attack 3, and I think it's 3. And basically, I think I got up there turn 2, and then I was like, great, cool, I'm going to kill these guys. And then I went, I think, and summoned something else. So I had 2 pets up there and me, and I was like, I will clean these guys up like really quickly. Because this is the thing, right? And I didn't realize this until like about turn 2 or 3. I've got 2 cards. Like my main kind of damage cards for me to do damage are essentially attack 2, transfer, which is a prism thing, attack 2, or attack 2, transfer, attack 3. So when you are doing -1 to that, but getting a second target, I've got a robot I can be in that gives me +1 to my damage. So I was looking at this going like, I could do a lot of damage to these things because none of them, or the bolt shooters don't have shields. The Yeti so much, I don't really want to do that because they have a shield and retaliate. So I don't really want to. That sounds like a shit idea. But being able to hit 2 targets, I was kind of lining it all up. And also my robots count as figures. So they
Mm,
were going to hit 2 targets. I'm like,
mm.
this room will be gone in like a turn. Like I'm going to just clean it up. I don't know if they went early or if maybe I went. I don't know what happened, but basically they got a turn, which it was not great, and managed to do their like attack 3 targets, do 3 damage, and just deleted everything. Like
Yeah.
deleted all 3 robots that I had there, and I was like, oh, okay, like
Yeah.
that's awkward.
Yeah.
Because
That was
summoning
such a
them.
setback for you, dude.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a setback for all of us I mean, for me, obviously, to control that. But like one more turn, and even if they died after that, it would have been super quick to clean up. I was still pretty confident being up there that I was going to be able to kill them all because, again, I can resummon and a whole bunch of stuff. But it was just like, I kind of have to take another couple of turns to get everything going again and kind of get
Mm.
that momentum. So it did, but I mean, it was fine because you guys were taking a few turns to deal with the things down the bottom. But because we were up here, I was kind of drawing the fire. Mark was just sitting there invisible, deleting things, doing that. Funnily enough, though, him being on the other side, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit, but him being on the other side didn't help you because he was always invisible. So
Yes.
he was up there killing them, but they were still like, oh, now we got to shoot someone. Well, there's no one here, so we may
Well,
as well shoot the people down there.
Mark's slapping them in the back of the head, and they're just like looking around, going, "What is? It's you guys. It has to be you guys down there." And he's just sitting there, and I'm like, "Please stop. Just please
So,
stop."
I think the only part that became really annoying was I haven't used it all that much, but I've got a robot that we call Legs. I think it's called the Leaper. It's a level
Mm.
1 robot, and it's I think move. I'm gonna say it's got like 7 health, a shield, so it's one of the more tanky ones. It doesn't really hit hard, but it's got like move 5 with jump. But its special kind of targeting focus thing is it focuses on the monster the furthest away from me. So not
Mm.
from it, but from me, right? So the problem with that was that all of these tiles are connected. So therefore, we were up there fighting, and it's like, I know you probably don't have this, but I really think I need to go kill that guy over the other side of the map,
Yeah. There was
right?
one frozen corpse that Mark was dueling with, and because of the -1s, Mark draws he does a lot of attack 1s, which then became attack 0s.
Yeah.
So they would, and the frozen corpse has a shield, so they were just like slapping each other over and over again, while Legs was just like, "I need to go help Mark."
Yeah. And we did this, and there was a rules question and stuff like that, which we ended up just ruling it to be the worst one, where my leaper jumped into a trap because that was the par thing, which then again further set me back. I've already talked about how my robots kept dying. I didn't need it to neck itself on a trap, which so that was annoying as well. And it was kind of getting a little bit like, yeah. And I think probably the most annoying part or disappointing part from me going like, I think I can clear this up is that the turn that all my robots died, I needed to long rest that turn, like the end of that turn. My long rests when I have a whole bunch of robots out are amazing because I
Yeah,
can
they
go at
are.
whatever initiative I want and I can control their attacks. So I literally could have just moved them around to optimize the crap out of their attacks, and then I would have got all my items back. And I would have got to choose the card I was discarding and heal a bunch. Like, this is just a brilliant turn. But because I had no robots, I'm like, I can't long rest. There's no benefit at all for me doing this. I've got a short rest, which was bad. I had the wrong card. I didn't get the heals. I didn't get my items back. Like, it went from like, I'm in a pretty good spot to this is not great. So, but managed to clear it, managed to jump on the pressure plate at the same time Mark did, and opened up the door so we could see what was in the middle.
Yes.
But it was
Um.
good. Like I had fun and it was a cool puzzle. It was just like the disappointing part was like I reckon it could have been amazing. Like it could have been like, wow, I really just absolutely dominated, but it ended up being a struggle. Well, not a struggle, but it was a challenge and it was touch and go for a little bit.
It
I had
was
to use
in
a
a
lot more
way a
turns,
solo scenario on that ledge, basically, for you. You had your own little solo puzzle to work out.
pretty much.
So yes, Mark and Gaz sort their shit out, and both of them stand on their pressure plates, and the door swings open. And it's a smallish room. We have 2 elite steel automatons, 1 elite frozen corpse, 2 normal bolt shooters, a bunch of loot tokens, and a treasure tile, which is the scenario goal. So now, plan is to just go in and I guess wreck as much as we can. So I start setting up my sword again. right? And whilst I'm in the middle of getting it set up and getting it all prepared, still automatons, they did this thing where they hit me and pushed two. And because I went in the room with Phil and we were like going gung ho. Phil jumped straight to the back and he was going to start dispatching the bolt shooters with his weighted crush. And I just got knocked back out of the room. All the while, I believe a new pair of legs or one of your other bots was charging into the room so that you could transfer
Yeah.
into it. And Mark was working his way into teleporting through all the walls, which was a cool kind of scene. How everyone was just,
Yeah, there was a really tense turn for me because I'm running out of cards by this stage, right? Like, and the leaper I had gotten down to the ground floor, right, to go into the room, but because of distance from me and its targeting rules, it really wanted to go fight the thing up on the platform with Mark, where I really wanted it to go into the room with the monsters, right? Because that's where I wanted to teleport into and do something. Because I'm ages away. If I have to walk, there's no chance. I've got like maybe 4 turns left. There's no way I'm walking that far. So I needed Mark to kill this thing. And so I said to him, like, can you kill it? He's like, I'm pretty sure. I was like, because if you don't, this thing's gonna just jump 5 that way. And it just completely, yeah. And he ended up, I think he put a crit. I think he had 2 attacks or 1 attack. Oh no, he had advantage on 1 attack. And I think the first card he drew was a -1. He needed to do 1 damage.
yeah,
He's
on
doing
attack
attack
0.
0,
Yeah.
attack 0, but he needed to do 1 damage. And first card he drew was a -1 because he had advantage. I think he drew a crit, so he killed it. But that changed. I mean, for me anyway, that changed heaps because it meant that I was actually able to get down there, which again was good because I wanted to play.
Yeah. There's this whole room down there full of things to finally deal with.
The other thing as well, though, that you just mentioning, there were 2 steel wolves down there, the automatons or whatever they're called. These, and I know we're going to talk about this a bit more, but as soon as they spawned, I was like, I don't think we can kill these.
Yeah, it was looking a bit.
Like,
Yeah.
we put these in the bin. Well, not in the bin. No, not in the bin. Like, that's exaggerating. We put them low-ish on the tier scale, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
look.
this is when we had
Party comp, right?
Yes, correct. I think this is when we had shades of the crab. We had the shackles. So we had crab that could do pierce all the time, right? We had shackles that just did pure damage all the time. We had a trap that would throw 20 damage traps at things and do pure damage all the time. Okay. And then I think Phil might have been on his blink blade, or maybe when we fought them, he was even on his meteor. So he was pushing things through them. It didn't matter. Like we had this really big chunk where pierce or pure damage was just not a problem at all. So these things were like 3 shields. Like, who cares, right? Just do 10 pure damage to it, right?
Yeah.
Now, like the last one, we talked about this with the whatever scenario it was with the cannons and stuff like that, where the robot spawns at the end. Like we went like what, like 18 health, 3 shields. That's basically impossible. Like,
yeah, and there's 2 of them.
yeah, and now there's 2 of them, and we're like, Phil, did you bring that Pierce card again? That one? Did you bring lots of Pierce? Because
Did he?
I think he did have a card with Pierce on it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But he didn't have it in the other one because he was range.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I was like, okay. But then, yeah, I think as people started to look at it, a plan started to form.
Yeah, well, I wanted to get in there, which now a frozen corpse had followed me outside and sat in the doorway, and I didn't have the infusion. I mean, I couldn't really get infusions on the board, but I didn't even have the move and jump one. So I was sitting there going, oh, I got to deal with this guy. Take my sword. And then my sword's like, bang, retaliate, bang, dead. And I'm like, okay, this is awkward. Yeah, I guess. It got to the point where I had to save up the elements for one of the, I think it was the Emerald, the attack 5. It was an attack 5 with the ward and XP thing. I had to start actually working to break my way through this frozen corpse who was just sitting in my way whilst everyone was dealing with the automatons in the room. Because I said to them, I've got brittle cards. That'll help, right? And I couldn't get in to brittle them. It was just a series of unfortunate events. And the sword was shit. Just kept getting booked over and over again because he likes hitting, of course, the one retaliate mob in that room who made his way out to me just to give me a fun time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Phil basically does a bunch of his multi-target attacks. Skaz does stuff. I wrote stuff.
Cool stuff.
And then, we slowly whittled them down. I do a move 2, loot 2 to grab a bunch of mats for crafting. I think Phil loots up the gold treasure tile and we clean it up and it's done.
Yep.
It was, so rewards. We got 10 gold each and we unlocked the next scenario in this because it's a chain. Scenario 100. Gem, who's the name of this incredibly slow orchid, gets what she's looking for, which turned out to be a box of bugs. And then orders us into a place they referred to as the Harrower's Hive Mind.
I'm pumped.
Yeah, whatever that is.
I'm excited about this.
What were your thoughts on Scenario 99? Prison Break.
I really liked it. I really enjoyed the scenario. I thought that the layout was cool. The special rules. This is when we talk about a kill all scenario, and I know we had to loot something at the end, but it's essentially kill all, then go pick up the thing at the end of the thing. This is the cleanness and low complexity that I like to see because it changes how you do it. Right?
Yes.
Go stand on these things, kill these things, but get peppered by bolts. But it makes it hard, but it just lets you play. Like it didn't impose anything on us that says, no, you've kind of got to do this other weird shit. It was just like, how best can you solve this puzzle? Go.
There was an element of teamwork that felt more so in this than I think in others.
Well, that's it, yeah, you're spot on as well. Yeah, that's a really good point because it was a case from the very start. It's like we both had to clear up our sides, and you had to have that work, right? And then it was all kind of convene in, and I think, like, everybody did a really good job. Like, I don't think there was a really big standout. Like, nobody just like went like massive through the whole thing and did amazing stuff. But I think everybody did the job that they needed to do. Like, you and Phil cleaned up the bottom and survived, which was the first part, right? Like, you did. Like, I think you barely had to discard any cards. Me and Mark got our job done up on the sides and opened the doors, and then you guys continued to go in. And I think Phil was a bit of a star, like doing a bunch of damage once he got in there.
Yeah,
but it just like I felt like everyone kind of got to do a bunch of stuff, and yeah, I don't know. I had a really good time playing this one.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. I think I mentioned that it relied on teamwork. I agree with you with the setup in that the thematics came through from the levels thing. I love when they can tie some really cool thematic thing into a scenario that really just feels right. It doesn't feel like you're questioning it at all. And I think the combination of monsters was actually really good. I think it was very clever. A little bit of retaliate, a little bit of multi-target, stupid steel automatons at the end, which is still in the bin. And I mean, we won, right? And all of that, which made for a really, really fun scenario. Nice and sandboxy. Splitting the party was fun at the start. Just assigning people, and everyone's like, "I'll take care of this." Like, it's just the people who can move the furthest, and then the people who maybe can soak it up. I did write here that we maybe could have just made a run for both sides at the start because the frozen corpses would have to follow, right, up the ladder.
So you're saying split two each way, or like 3 one way, the other way.
Yeah, just to stop all the bolt shooters from being able to mass target, and then they'll only have that line of sight down the ladder kind of thing, which would have been potentially interesting, but that's not how I was seeing it because, I'm a tank.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Like if we were on the snowflake party where we had birds plus a whole bunch of better movement, I can definitely see a world where we just book it. Just kind of like all run up there to kill the things and and then just slowly deal with the frozen corpses as we go back down.
Yeah. So no, it was really well received. I think everyone did like it. Oh, actually, I can let you know right now. So Mark said, "Love these scenarios that add." Mark is our kelp player. That add an element of elevation in small doses, as they give the world some depth and change the standard move from A to B. Difficulty-wise, this was a good balance and had a lot of opportunity for classes to shine. Not just our team, but thinking about other classes we've seen as well. Shout out to the bolt shooters who had some brutal turn sequences, but forgot to bring their heal. That's a good point.
Yeah, that would have been real gross.
Would say solid scenario, a clear objective with a neat twist. And
Phil
said
it was fine.
No, he said that last week. It was okay. This week he said a slightly better good. So
Do we
that
do we need that like scale that we had for initiative? That it was like
how much he
slightly
enjoyed it.
slow fast or something like that. We need like a decoder key for Phil. So where slightly better good like ranks on a scale of like 1 to 10.
Yeah, I need to push Phil to the point where like Kickstarter campaign pages are like, what did Phil think of this game? And it's like a sticker on the box
Yep.
of just what the 3 words he chooses to
I
bring.
love it. Yeah, that's perfect. It's
Yeah.
just yeah.
Um, was this an Ormy scenario? Did he break into
Oh,
prison?
I feel like he probably gets killed.
I agree with you. I think it's too hard to keep him up, especially when they're hitting hard. Now, you can
Yeah.
choose the secondary targets in a way, so we might be able to get out of it that way. But then he's got 3 juicy retaliate targets that he's going to be wailing on at the start. So yeah, I think this is just, it's not really like the scenario is bad for him. It's just that Ormy's an idiot on this one.
I think, yeah, you'd need some really specific character class abilities to keep him alive, right? Like if you could banner spear him, move him off to the side so that he then focuses to go up one of the things, I think you maybe are okay then because he gets distracted and
Yeah.
stays up that way. But I think without some really kind of niche cards to do that kind of stuff, I feel like he's just in the he's in the it's the killing floor. I think that's what they call it, right? And just gonna get butchered.
It'll be the same situation as the sword because he'll be doing. I think he's attack 2, move 2. At least back then, he'd be doing attack 1, target 2, and he'd be taking 4 damage each time he did it.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah, he just got
even
up.
worse.
Don't worry, guys. I've got this. I maybe don't, but I'll try it again next turn. I'm dead. Like,
Yeah, it was amazing
yeah,
how much that challenge card actually kind of changed a lot of that scenario with steel automatons hitting 2 targets. Like that's pretty gross. They hit pretty hard. Phil hitting 2 targets with single target crushing weights, which speed his token along a little bit
yeah,
further if there's a second one. Couple of those situations have made it interesting.
yeah. I'm looking forward to when we finish it and know what the outcome is, so we can kind of talk about it. But I'd be real keen to have a discussion around like the challenges in general, right? Not necessarily we can rate some of them, we can talk about them, but I've got some ideas around how much this has made so many of these scenarios, and I don't want to say more enjoyable because we never tried them without this, but different to what the scenario said it was.
Mm, very true.
Right. Like we've had scenarios where our core experience and challenge has been around these cards, which are not even supposed to be in the scenario, right? Like it was hard because and we had like that one. So yeah, I think it's great. Like you're right. The challenge card did again change this scenario to have an extra like layer. And like things like the steel wolves that drew like their attack 6 stun and we're like, oh don't go like luckily they don't move when they draw that one. But
Yeah.
like, okay, so this is the stay the hell away from the
Yes.
like, stuff like that. It's just wild. So
I'm looking to see whether or not they carry some of that customizing ability into Gloomhaven 2.0. And, even evaluate it. Imagine taking it even further, and then you have monster affixes and prefixes that you can just attach and play. This game, the frozen corpses are going to be doing slightly these, and
yeah.
but you can mix them up. That'll be awesome.
It's an interesting thing. That's why I want to talk about it more, like actually dedicate some time to it and kind of see what you could do and where you could go with it and how it adapts to other things. So,
Love it. Community wise, there was a couple of mostly it's around the questioning of how the ranged works and all of that kind of stuff. Alexander himself did jump in on one of the threads to help clear up some of the rules questions for his scenario, and he actually mentioned that once you've opened the doors, if you were up in the rafters, it's like a tables turn situation because now you can pepper on everything that's coming out of the room,
Mm.
which is kind of cool.
I think we
Um,
talked about that. There was a brief moment of like, can we stay up here and just shoot down and pull them all out? But I think it was going to be too difficult to get them to come out.
yes.
Um,
Yeah, especially if they don't.
the other thing I was just going to ask, you said community wise,
Yeah, there's a community.
Yeah, there is a community. No, I was gonna ask a question, but I can't remember what it was. I'm sure it was really cool though.
Oh, okay. Let me know.
Oh well.
Just email me.
Okay.
Battle goals. Mark had Recluse. Never end your turn adjacent to any other character and gain 1 additional tick for 4 characters. Great scenario for it because he spent most of his time on his own. He nearly booked it at the end when he teleported into the room on a particular spot and then luckily had enough time to go, actually, I don't do that. And
I think
fixed it.
he did, and then he moved to collect a piece of loot or something like that. He's like, oh, hang on, no, wait, I
That's
don't do
right.
that.
Yeah. So nice work. Double ticker. Optimus, remove a negative condition from yourself or an ally 2 or more times. How did you do this one, Gaz?
Yeah, so when I teleport into my robots and take them over, I remove their conditions, and then I gain those conditions. But the specifically wording says remove all conditions.
From an ally.
Yeah, from an ally. So I think I did it in one turn. There were 2 that were brittled. I think it was might have been brittled, or because it was saying that wasn't going to drop off.
Yeah.
That was the card thing. There was one turn where I think something got immobilized and brittled. I think in the one
Yeah.
turn, I was like, "Oh, that's juicy." Because if I can get into that, but there's no way I can do it because they always act before me.
Yeah.
So yeah. But there was one where I think I asked everyone. It was kind of once we were moving in. I actually asked. I was like, "How likely are we to do this?" Because I can basically do nothing this turn, but I can get my battle goal. Like I literally will just play 2 cards that say complete your battle goal. That's what
Yeah.
it says.
But that's important.
Well, it's very important for me, but I wasn't going to do it if we weren't going to succeed. Like if it's like hey, we really need to squeeze, then there's no point in me doing that because then we lose and I don't get the battle goal anyway. So it was kind of a little bit, and Phil was like, no, mate, you're fine. Just do your battle goal. You're all good. I was like, okay, cool. So
Nice.
Yeah, that was cool that I got to do that one.
Phil had opener. I don't think he got this. He might have, but I don't remember. Kill the first enemy to die in the scenario. I know he did actually, because at the end everyone said that they completed their battle goals. So well done that. And then I had cleaner, collect 3 or more loot tokens in the same turn, which is what I did at the end with the loot 2. DPS meters, we've got Gaz and Detty both on 26 damage, which is pretty cool. Mark on 30, and it's like we've gone back in time because Phil's on 73. Damage taken, Mark took 1. Oh, that's right. He barely took anything for that whole thing because he was invisible basically the whole time.
I reckon that one that he took was retaliate from the
Frozen Corpse.
Frozen Corpse, yeah.
Phil took 25. I took 31. Gaz took 45. Because we are counting the damage your pets are taking as you taking, which makes sense.
I think so, but I don't know if that's all getting captured, but yeah.
I think it might be because that's what Mark was getting on his Bone Shaper all the time.
Okay.
Healing wise, Mark healed 4, Phil healed 6, I healed 13, you healed 22. We will plow through our outpost phase. So we go back and lo and behold, just like we said earlier, Miss Librarian Lady is just like, hey, you've got the book. And actually asked us to decide between us if we want to be test subjects. So pick 2 people in the party to be test subjects or 1 person, and we can also test it on her. And this was really cool because we actually had a big chat about this. And Mark was like, yeah, whatever it is, I want it. Experiment on me. And it was going to be you. And then we were like, it was about health, vitality, vigor, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think this is where the conversation was kind of like one person's going to become stronger and one person's going to become weaker. And I think, yeah, you're right. It might have said vitality or something like that, but it didn't tell you specifically what.
No.
And the idea was that I'm pretty high level and reasonably close to retiring. Like, so I say if there's a negative condition, I'm happy to take it because it's not going to affect me as much rather than you who are on a brand new character and Mark who is also on a brand new character. He's only like 3 scenarios in. But then we did think about like, okay, if it is a health related thing, like maybe it's increased max health or something, it's going to be awesome on you. And Mark spends most of his time invisible, so he doesn't really care. So we were kind of like, let's roll the dice and hope we haven't read too much into the flavor because we have been known to do that before, right?
100%.
And you and Mark were the test subjects.
Yeah. And it actually turned out exactly the way we kind of thought it, which is it's not permanent, which was another thing because it was like, is this going to be a permanent thing? Is it like 3 health max or something like that? But it's you can choose. It literally says For the next scenario, select a number less than either selected character's max health value. One character begins the scenario suffering that amount of damage, and the other character begins with their max HP value raised by the same amount, which is actually very cool.
So Mark just leveled up. I think his max health is 13 at the moment. So the plan is for him to take 12 damage at the start, give that to you, and he's just going to go invis first turn and slowly work his health back up. And then we have a tank who's going to basically start with about 20 odd health. So
perfect.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds great. Like, well done.
We need to pick a real doozy of a scenario. Maybe we'll make a poll or something. Who knows?
Well, I think I'm pretty excited about going into the Harrower's Den or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, that is available. We had an outpost event. We had Winter Outpost Event 61. This was about, well, it was a decision we made a while back. It was about the Harvest Festival. Everyone's celebrating, and it was not an important thing. It was all morale based and all of that. But what it did do was that there's a harvest sticker that now gets placed on the campaign sheet. Yep. And every time, your time passes, clicks over it, I think there might be a section that we need to read. It feels weird because it's come very late.
Yeah.
And don't know how relevant it's going to be.
I think this is what fueled the conversation, which we can pick up another time and go into more detail between me and Phil. And I think Mark was talking about it a bit as well, was the idea about how some of these type of events should be seeded into the deck at a certain point. So, this kind of thing, it would be great if it came up in the first year, either have a summer or winter festival. Because then you get to see it every time, right? Like, and again, I don't know what happens. Maybe that's not a good thing because it might give you too much bonuses. I don't know. But you actually place this sticker, which goes across, like, on your calendar, and it shows that at the same time every year, you're going to do this winter festival, which I think is great. I think it's a really cool, again, way of making Frosthaven feel more consistent. But it is a shame, you're right, that I don't know if we're going to see this part of winter again. Well, we might, but we would definitely only see one more of these.
Yeah, most likely.
So
yeah. And then more buildings, more stuff, etc. All right, let's jump into our classes. So you were playing the Prism. This was a character that was almost assigned to you from our, mini community. And more so from a Gaz would love this, or I can totally see him playing it, and then Weedy saying most character I would never want to play, but it's great for Gaz to really build up your excitement. How have you enjoyed your time as the Prism?
Yeah, I think I have really enjoyed it. It definitely has created a bunch of challenges, and I think it's probably created the experience I was hoping the Geminate would. It's got hoops to jump through to try to maximize and figure out your own little puzzle, and the better you figure it out, the better you can do.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I think, like, if I played it again, I'd probably play it in a completely different way. I wouldn't want to play the same thing again. But B, also from some kind of more optimizations of knowing more about the cards. But I have really enjoyed it, and I think I've kind of got the hang of it. I think most of my turns aren't taking as long. Occasionally, there is some weird ones where I'm trying to figure out where I need to be and how I need to be there. But yeah, overall, I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
There's a lot to look at. And even as a, I guess, spectator, when you're planning it all, looking at all of your pets, because on the turns where maybe they are slightly out of position or something, it can be fairly catastrophic to lose multiple in a given turn, which is what happened this time. And that was purely because of an initiative timing thing or something along those lines. But yeah, it's a lot to think about, and I think you're managing it like extremely well. What would you say some of the biggest challenges you've had to face with it? What are those challenges?
I think just finding ways to get a lot of damage done. I feel like the build that I picked, and I think I've mentioned this to you after one of the sessions, was I looked at one of the level 1 cards, which is an attack 2, transfer attack 2, and then there's another level 1 card, which is like an attack 2 to 3 adjacent tiles, like in a little kind of arc. And there's also a level 1 pet that gives you +1 attack. You take 2 damage at the start of each turn, but I'm like, okay, well, that's the trade-off. So I kind of looked at this going like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I reckon I can probably do some kind of melee build. Um, I got a level 4 card, which was an attack 2, transfer attack 3. So basically like the same as the other one. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is it. But there really hasn't been much since then. And almost feel like I went down this path a little bit too hard of thinking that I was going to lose heaps of pets, but I was also going to be able to do heaps of melee damage. So, but I've actually found like I had the cracked mirror, for example, which is lets you get a lost card back, and I found I never used it. I've got a couple of other cards that do let you play a lost card or summon a lost card from your um, discard pile or your burn pile, your lost pile. So I feel like one of the challenges I've been is being too conservative. And for example, in this last scenario, I've kind of gone to the point where I've got this level 7 card, I think, that lets me like basically summon 2 things out of my discard pile. We'll like move 2 and do that. So I can just restock them. I've kind of gone like, I'm just gonna go balls to the wall and just start throwing robots at people. And it was just unfortunate that they drew that card that cleared
Well,
everything.
how many monsters are target 3 or 4 with that much
Yeah,
damage, right?
yeah, exactly. And I think the situation was one of them was low and the other one got brittled. So that's why they died. Um, but yeah, I think that the challenge has been is figuring out the tempo. Because I there's a world where it just ends up spending half the scenario summoning a bunch of robots, things getting clogged, them not doing heaps, me not doing heaps, and then I end the scenario going, I didn't really do much. And I've had a
Mm,
couple of those scenarios where I kind of feel like, I think I might have said to you a few weeks ago, I was like, I feel like I'm not doing anything. Like I'm doing lots of things, but I don't think it's resulting in much. And yeah, there can be some challenges around that, um, around some of the challenge cards we're getting. Yeah, just stuff
yeah.
like
I'm wondering when you were mentioning like you took the level 2 card, level 4 card. I think it's those two that you were sort of going into a maybe a striking kind of melee build. You're level 7. Are you think like there's a chance that they 8 and 9 complete that kind of idea or build?
Yeah. Well, I just hit 8. So I did get to see my level 8
Oh,
card,
okay.
and I can't remember them at all, but I remember looking and going like, one of these is awesome. I think maybe the summon is like really bonkers, like runs around throwing water at people, which is cool. But the other one is just like a real hard attack. Like
Mm,
I was like, and so I was saying kind of too, because I think I was saying to Phil, like, I feel like I have to take this one because I've been complaining there isn't enough melee cards.
100%.
So I feel like I will go through and redo my deck. And this is one thing that I've done more than any other character. Maybe the Banner Spear, which was very situational depending on it. But I changed my starting hand. At least one card, if not multiple cards, go in and out each scenario.
Same. I
Um,
do that too.
so yeah, and it's just due to some of them, that are just not useful.
No.
But I think I'm gonna do that more for the last few scenarios I'm playing with this and go. Um, I am going to go with a strategy, and that's just going to be it. Now that I've seen enough of it, and I'm just kind of roll with that.
Yeah,
So
okay. Um, would you make any changes or take something back regarding the choices you have made?
I think just a couple of the cards. One thing that's tricky is that you get a lot. Like you start with like a 4 summons, I think it is options at level 1. You get one option at level 2. I think you get another one at like level 4. Like there's a lots, right? Like you can, but you can't play that many. Like found like 4 is a lot. You
Yeah.
start with 11 cards and you start with 1 out, right? So if you play 4 summons and you're down to 7 cards, you kind of go through that really quickly. Um, so I've kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like maybe just a couple of the cards that I've chosen weren't as impactful. Um, or I just completely go a range. There's like from seeing all these cards now, there's a really cool range build that you can go. Which just gets a couple of range robots out. You get to be a range robot and just do shitloads of damage and throw poison and shit on everyone.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, it's I don't know.
Yeah.
If we were like playing this really consistently and we were like, hey, let's start another Frosthaven campaign, I definitely would play this again and I'd play it in a
Okay.
different way.
Yeah, that's really cool. I was gonna say, I know that this is something we really don't talk much about at all, which is items. Is there an item that you have on it that you think is really making the build or making the Prism? Like, is there something that is a must-have that you've got?
The It's really weird because I feel like most of my items, like it's probably just the control horn. So you've got
Oh,
the
that's been real clutch. And that
yeah,
was one of the
yeah,
earliest items we found.
yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure that was, yeah. I remember Calvin using that when he was playing the Bone Shaper like heaps. So we've had it since the very start.
Might be a purple one, which means that because we still have cards in our loot deck thing, it may not have come out until now, kind of thing, you know.
Oh,
That's
is that a
I
random item?
I have to double check. I for some reason
Okay.
think it might be.
Yeah, so no, that's been really good. I've got the initiative boots, so I can pretty much always go whenever I want. Because I've got a lot of really early cards. So even if I have one of my mid cards, there I can always just make sure I go. Because there's just some turns where I need to go before the monsters do. Which has been handy. And you know, not really other than that, because my potions have all been like they're all buff potions. Like I've got a
Mm,
bless everyone potion, I've got a ward everyone potion, and a stam pot. So
yeah.
yeah, I think item wise, I reckon it's also very flexible.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
you know, there's probably a world where attacking lots, you could probably take some kind of attack item, like a power pot would probably be good. Because there are turns where I'm doing multiple attacks.
Yeah, okay, yep.
But I don't know if it's necessary.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool. So uh I've had one now with the Astral. And I have learned a lot with my time with the Astral. So number one, element generation. Our party makeup, and I mentioned this to you in our unboxing and also during our session, we have two characters, Prism and Drifter, that have no elemental affinity at all. Okay? In any given party, at least the ones we've had in the past, there's been a bit of a mishmash here. And when we had Snowflake and Coral and Meteor, and there was just shit flying everywhere, elements everywhere. Those turns where it was like, you know, kill something while there are three waning or whatever. And it's like, I'm pretty sure we've done that, right? I don't have these two to help me with the elements, okay? Because I've got three tied to me. Now, the other issue is we've got the kelp, and the kelp is sharing one of those with me, which is good. It's fine. I'm happy that we are both sharing the dark element so we can make it for each other. But if I had anyone making anything else, a lot of the infusion cards that I play, there's a wild element. I can just choose whatever. I don't give a shit whatever's there. So if we had a Snowflake or a Meteor or a Shackles or anything that was popping wind up or popping fire and ice, whatever, I could use that for the infusion. So that would make my infusions much more consistent to get out. So that's one thing. It's just the party makeup has made it a little bit hard. The second thing I learned was the sword. So the sword, which is something that I'm looking forward to working with, it needs earth to get out, which I was struggling a little bit with the timing of getting that out. It gets wrecked by multi-target, which is unfortunate, and obviously retaliate. This is my first, I want to say first pet class, but it's not. But this is one where I'm probably going to get more out of my pet than the other class that I played with a pet, where I only brought it out 3 times, and then I cracked the shits when it died 1 time, and never brought it out again. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to trying that more and working out other ways of keeping it alive, which I think that early move one adjacent, you know, takes the thing. I think that's a card that will enable that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Movement I struggle with a little bit, but at the same time, it's really too early to tell. I do have some movement options, but you know, a lot of them, they have that penalty attached to them, where the attack is, you know, attack 3, but you can make it worse by creating an element. I did not realize, because of my first point, how many of those I want to nerf to get the elements out. So it's cool that it's in my, when I was seeing the cards for the first time, I was like, huh, I mean, it's a move 4. I can make a move 3 to make Earth, but look how many cards I've got that can make Earth and make all the elements. I'm not going to nerf that. I'm going to move fast and hit hard all the time. No.
You
The
kind of need to look at
reliance.
the cards as like they are the thing with the nerfed ability, right? Because those elements are so important, especially for the first half of the scenario. I
Yes.
mean, there is an infusion that fixes your movement problems, right?
Yes, I know. So that's something else is the infusions. There are a lot of options, and I'm trying to work out what the sweet spot is for how many infusions to have out. The ones I took with me were the curse one, the health one, the retaliate one, which I didn't even get out because I just couldn't get it out. I just could never line up the elements to get it out,
Mm.
among other things that I was doing. And the wound model, I had that one out as well, so that my sword would have wound model. Again, I didn't get that one out either. So the
Yeah.
movement one would become a fifth one, and then if there's any on top of that. So that was, yeah, I could bring it. I'm sure there's going to be scenarios where I look at the mob list and go, wow, they're all retaliating ones. This is not a sword one. I'm not going to plan around that. I will plan around maybe a bit more of myself,
Yeah.
as something to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because unlike the other classes, like that play persistence, I think you get value out of playing these persistence.
Yeah.
So it is one that I think you can err on the side of playing more than you would, right? Like, are you? It's 11 card hand.
Yep.
11. Yeah. So look, with an 11, you really wouldn't say I'm playing four or five persistence. I mean, that's the thing that I just talked about struggling with. It's like playing pets, right, and playing these things. But they're pets, I guess, do usually more than a persistent because persistents usually give you a buff or do some stuff that's cool, but then they drop off, or if they're permanent forever, they probably don't do heaps of damage. Whereas at yours, as you line them up and keep triggering them, right? Like if you do your attack one first, you're essentially going to get five free attacks out of that one card
Yes.
that you've played. So the value just keeps rolling, and
Yeah.
that's an interesting balance. That yeah, you got to be able to find the elements, but if you can find the elements, then you kind of can just. I reckon there's going to be some really really cool combo turns. So
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to working my way there. I think this was a rough scenario for doing what I was trying to do
yeah,
because of all the bolt shooters. I was always taking it. The sword was always taking it. And then, of course, the retaliate. It's just, if the scenario is fine, just for what I was trying to do, it was something that I would need to tweak.
yeah,
And then, of course, there's the earth thing. Getting the sword out requires earth. So there are cards that I didn't take. There's one that has it's a cleave, the bottom move, and immobilize, which creates earth. So I need to find a way to squeeze that in and remove cards that maybe didn't work as well. I like the healing options. I like the amount of ward that I was generating with the infusion that I did have out. And yeah, there was some definitely fun things that I could see there. But I can definitely see what I'm going to be trying to do. It's just
yeah.
trying to fit the pieces together.
Well, I mean, considering you were a lowest level character and you got attacked the most, at least for the first half of the scenario, I feel like you did a really good job of not dying.
Yeah.
Like not dying and still being able to do your thing. Like we had a fair amount of curses in the deck, which was I know one of the things you were trying to do. Your sword did get a few good hits in and stuff like that. So like while it sounds like you tripped over yourself with the elements and trying to figure out how to get them all out and get your cards played, it still sounds like you didn't do stuff. Like you
Mm.
didn't just sit there and go, basically not doing anything for this scenario. I hope you guys carry it. Like you did seem to manage to find some stuff to do, which is good, right? So, yeah, that's good
And
to hear.
and I need to thank you as well because towards the end I had sort of selected a couple of cards that I was planning on making, and because of my level, I can only carry so many bag items. One of the items that I was going to make when I eventually hit level 5 was an element potion of some kind. It creates 2 elements. And you immediately grabbed it off me and goes, "No, I'll make it." And I was just like, "No, dude, I'll make it. It's my problem." And you're like, "No, dude, I'll make it so that you can go on your turn." Essentially completely fixing the problem that I've been around this, which is turn 1. I don't have to then blow everything on it. If you go before me and you create 2 elements that I'll need for my first infusion, that's going to make a world of difference. And no, I didn't even think of that as a thing. I thought it was something that I will have so that I can just plan better for
The
my
next
future
turn.
turns. Yes.
And I think you probably could do it that way, but like I just hit 8, so I get an extra bag slot. I didn't have a potion or a bag item to put in there that was any good anyway. I haven't really spent like I think your question about items with the prism. I haven't really gone through and kind of really min maxed it or whatever. So I was just like, this makes sense. Like I'll just take this, and that way I can kind of enable you and plan around that. Either keep it for later turns or pop it at the start or whatever, you need. Because I also have a really good ability to go early. So like we can plan that pretty well and kind of get it out when you need it to. So hopefully that helps.
Yep. So yeah, to wrap it up, basically my biggest concern is the element thing. XP seems to be fine. I'm happy with that. The toys are all there and they seem really fun. I'm looking forward to the next session. And I'm now learning Retaliate Life, where you go all in on being defensive and the enemy does not hit you. And it is actually infuriating.
Yeah.
The amount of times it's happened to all of us. You set it up and they don't hit you.
It's a bit funny.
So we will wrap it up there for the week. Join us next week as we enter the settings menu and turn permadeath on. But don't tell I've been your host, Detty, and joining me again, as always, is Gaz.
And remember, when it comes to rolling terribly, it's all in the wrist.